Walking without caution, all of reality's distortions come forth with obstacles propped up like optical illusions, protrusions of darkness. We're moving elusive till catharsis is more than an illusion. Till then,
Islam, I am Terry Phillips Dangerfield. This is that More Stuff Podcast Network. Again, I am Terry Phillips Dangerfield. This evening. A grand evening to everyone. It is the month of April, Christian calendar year, on a Thursday. Lovely Thursday evening. Here in northwest of Mexico, North America, Kentucky territory. All right, is where I am navigating for the moment. So tonight, this evening, we're gonna have I'm gonna call this a fire hot podcast because I've been kind of waiting on the ancestors or our mama or the higher ethers, higher essence to give me word to do this particular podcast title. And name of the podcast is Harmonizing with the Age of Aquarius. Harmonizing with the Aquarius Aether energy. Harmonizing with the Aquarius Aether energy, or ether energy. Harmonizing with the Aquarius Aether energy, or harmonizing with the Age of Aquarius. All right. So, again, I'm Terry Phillips Dangerfield. This is the More Stuff Podcast Network. Supreme honors to High Mama. Supreme honors to Noble Drew Ali. Supreme and high honors to all the matriarchs, known and unknown. Patriarchs, known and unknown. All right. Peace to all the Moors of North America, South Central America, the world over, conscious and unconscious, whether you know your bloodline of Moor or not. Peace and love to you, and also peace and love to Earth citizens and the others that navigate on this planet and outside this planet, all right? So, this particular podcast, man, when the concept first hit me with the downloads, dealing with the Age of Aquarius and the changes that has been energetically hitting the planet. All of us are dealing with it one way or the other, through the weather, you see what I'm saying, through a lot of the actions of the Earth citizens and a lot of the people in North America. Seems as if people are kind of losing their balance, losing themselves mentally, and what's going on. The changes are becoming more concentrated, man, and and they're only going to become more concentrated and more. Well, I don't want to say they're going to become more dense, because we're not going backwards to levels of density. We're going to higher densities. The Earth is doing some things with itself, and I could explain it from a scientific perspective, but I personally have the ability. I've been blessed and given the ability to deal with higher scientific concepts. However, I'd rather break it down and bring it to a more simple and harmonizing level. That way, we all can get it and soak it in and interpret what's being said. Rather than playing word games and playing Jeopardy with knowledge and wisdom, wisdom energy. All right. So the Earth is essentially healing itself and raising itself to a higher level of consciousness. All right. Just simply put. Now, this is not just dealing with it, or from a religious, spiritual perspective. You can say the Creator is bringing the planet to a new state of being. You know what I mean? And so, with that being the part of planetary evolution, the spiritual evolution, cosmic evolution, the inhabitants of the planet. This includes, especially including the humans on the planet, us on the planet, and the animals, anywhere now, from the animals, the insects, the plants, everything has to begin to change its vibration as well in order to harmonize and continuing to continue to thrive on this planet. All right. And the changes come through, our thinking starts with our thinking. All right. And then as the thinking forms, thoughts could turn into form and turn into action. Our actions have to change. All right. Hence the title, Harmonizing with the Aquarius Aether energy. All right. And the ether, we'll just call, what if somebody asks, what is the ether? What are you talking about the ether? Well, the ether is everything around us. It's any and everything. It's beyond, the ether is beyond what you call atomic. It's beyond atomic. It makes up the atomic structure, the ether of the darkness. All right, that's unseen, that's not detectable, that scientists can't detect. All right, so that's where that comes from the ether energy. And you can look it up, look this word up, ether or aether. It used to be spelled aether, or it's pronounced ether, but it used to be spelled with the A as an apple. And I would encourage everyone to study this term, ether. All right, and the new school spelling for it since the early 1900s is E as in echo, T as in Tom, H as in hotel, E as in echo, R as in Romeo. All right, ether. But the old way to spell it is A as in apple, E as in echo, T as in Tom, H is in hotel, E is in echo, R is in Romeo. So it's just an A added to the front of the word ether. All right, and this is a word it's a concept that was used by the ancient ancestors of the Moors or the Moabites, or the people that identify as black people or African Americans. All right, our ancestors used these concepts within our high sciences and spirituality, etc., etc. All right, so all right, let's go into the topic at hand, the podcast at hand. The first concept is going to be studying self and any mood changes. All right. So, with this particular concept, number one, dealing with studying self. When you come onto this planet, when you are before you even get down here, on the planet, the concept usually on with religions like Hinduism, Judaism, some of the older religions and foreign religions, and the Veda as well. Where you can read into the Veda. The concepts of spirit before you come into the body, carnation, reincarnation, etc. And the concept is that you come into a body for experience to learn about the depths of yourself or your soul. You know what I'm saying? Hence, you study yourself. All right. So while we're in these bodies down here, you know what I'm saying, right now, and the age is changing over from the in astrology from the Pisces, the age of Pisces, and then transiting to the age of Aquarius. And so with the changing of an age, the energies change. And so as the planetary energies change, of course the ethereal energies change, the cosmic energies change, the planetary energies have to change because of that. And then what else has to change? The inhabitants of these planetary bodies and the planet Earth here, we have to begin to change, and with us changing, we're gonna feel some different energies going on here. And then you study the energies that you're feeling. You look into just kind of pay attention how you felt the day before or the week before and how you feel today. Now, of course, you have to factor in current events, personal events, depending on the construction of your life, what you got going on, you know what I mean, family, friends, you see what I'm saying? You have to try to gauge all of that, right? However, you try to pay more attention to these things, and you begin to pay attention to the sun and the moon transits. Now, a lot of people don't do this. I get it. A lot of us deal with current events. We watch the weather and deal with any type of planetary events, the moon, the full moon, what it looked like and things like that. However, we don't deal with how these planetary bodies cause our bodies to feel. You know what I mean? And when you do any research on the moon, you will see that the moon is in charge of a lot of different things. The moon transits, all right? A full moon, half moon, quarter moon, crescent moon, the new moon. These particular moon transits are energies projecting down on the earth. There's a lot of conspiracy theories with that, but just do a little simple research on how the moon affects the body. And also, there's some information, about, becoming a doctor or being a doctor, and how most doctors or surgeons will not perform surgeries on full moons, simply because the moon, or during a full moon, it's like the moon is pulling at its hardest. It's pulling, there's a pulling type of energy from the earth, that the moon is pulling from the earth. And so, which may cause humans to bleed out quicker doing surgery. Now, I researched this. Now, look, I'm up for correction on this, but that's a little bit of what I researched and learned for myself. And so I would, encourage anyone to look that up. But saying all that, to say that that's merely evidence that, with the changing of the age and the changing of the planetary systems and, these different, what do you call those? The retrogrades, planetary retrogrades going on. Of course, our moods are going to change, and some of these moods are going to be, you may feel some days you may feel a little angry. No, I won't say angry, but you'll feel more sensitive. All right, you may be more sensitive to certain things. You see what I'm saying? Where 2 weeks ago, little Johnny walking down the street and he spit on the ground. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about a big loogie just spit on the ground. And then for some reason this week, you know what I'm saying? You see somebody else that may look like Johnny or not like Johnny spit on the ground, or it may not even be, maybe a grown adult. You see them spit on the ground and that just annoyed you to death today, or to life, or whatever. It annoyed you so much, you see. And this is evidence, and you can't explain why it annoyed you so much. You're gonna try to find something to relate it to. You're gonna try to figure out why this annoyed me so much. You know what I'm saying? And the reason being is because the evidence is that the changing of the age, the retrogrades, the planetary systems changing. You know what I mean? And that means the energies are changing. With each planetary transit, you look at what a transit is. A transit in astrology is simply a planetary object's movement from one location to the next. All right. When these planetary objects move, the moon, the sun, the planets, those concepts, when they move, each time there's a different energy being projected onto the planet. All right. So certainly when the moon transits, when it moves, the energies change, and then which is going to affect us. All right. Now, I'm not calling for you to believe this. I just say do your research. All right. And so, if it is all make believe, why, you look at why are all these people talking about the age of Aquarius? You see what I'm saying? What's with these ages, and then talking all this, planetary, cosmo, astrologic or astrology stuff, because it's actual reality. That's the reason why, right? So what you want to do, just solutions, continue to look into your moods, do your best with these with the mood change, with your personal mood changes. Try your best to think before you say certain things or before you speak. If somebody is annoying, they just super getting on your nerves. It's just something they just really, today's not the day. Try your best to think before you speak. Just do your best with it. Personally, I still, battle with it myself. All right, and sometimes people, certain things, certain people may annoy me. You know what I'm saying? Certain things may annoy me. You see what I'm saying? And it's just my own personal. I have my own personal struggles in certain arenas. But what I try to keep myself aligned and balanced is by thinking before I speak. Even though I might feel that anger, or that well, it's not anger, but that sense of being annoyed, or that sense of being uncomfortable, or disapproving toward the actions or the words that these people are using. I try to hold my silence, keep my thoughts together, and remember that I have to, before I react, think about what I'm going to say and the effect of what it's going to cause, the aftermath and the future, and am I going to be comfortable with that future after I say what I'm going to say or do what I'm going to do. All right. So the planetary energies, man, these transits, the entering into the age of Aquarius, changes must be made. We're all dealing with this one way or the other. Whether we are, somebody on top, a billionaire, millionaires, all of us are poor people. You see, the middle class, we're all dealing with these planetary energies. If you're in a human body, we're all dealing with it. So we have to do our best with these transitions into the new age. All right. So, second concept, dealing with thoughts and positive thinking. Dealing with thoughts and positive thinking. Excuse me. This particular concept is essentially self-explanatory, and I just explained a little bit of it and how I'm personally what I'm doing with dealing with thoughts and positive thinking is, not saying you have to make believe. You know what I'm saying? Anything that that you really don't believe in with yourself. This is a process when it comes to positive and people thinking positive about themselves. It's a process to get there, although it is very simple. You see what I'm saying? Anything positive about yourself, roll with it. Any and everything. All right. But that's not to say you don't. The hard part of it is dealing with things that you're trying to get through, personal traumas, things of the past, things you went through. People might have went through as a child, or even as an adult. You may be the elderly. You still here trying to, figure it out. You see what I'm saying? You're older. You're still trying to figure it out, and it may be challenging for you if you've had a difficult life or it's a lot of challenges in your life to have positive thoughts. But it's never too late. It's never too late to start thinking positive of yourself, because if you're here, you're still walking around, you got breath in your lungs, and you're not dealing with heartaches or heart pains and body aches, or either you're not dealing with an uncomfortable situation. You have a lot to be grateful for. You see what I'm saying? You start to begin to be grateful for the very small things that, there are billions of people on the planet. And so you look around the world and you look at how some people have to navigate, and it's not so pleasant for them in comparison to how it is for people, especially in what they call the New World in North America. All right. And that's why I'm addressing first. But then, of course, this is for these podcasts are universal for the world over, because, of course, we're all in this together. Essentially, whether we like it or not, whether we like to think of ourselves as better than other people or not, these cosmic energies don't look at it that way. You see what I'm saying? The cosmic energies are indifferent to humans, meaning that it don't matter who you think you are. But it does, but it don't. Because if you in these bodies, you in a human body, you're going to be affected, maybe not the same way as another human being is affected due to their gene makeup, structure, etc. But you'll be affected one way or the other. You know what I mean? So the important part is to mind your thinking, have positive thoughts about yourself. Think about some of the successes that you would like to have in 5 years. And if it may seem, if it's outlandish, all right, that is really not. Think about it. You see what I'm saying? Think about how happy you will be. Matter of fact, just picture yourself in the most positive situation that you can think about. In 5 years or day in, day out. Think about where you would like to be next week. Whether it happens or not, it's neither here nor there. Continue to think about it. And that's an important part of manifesting things as well. Is thinking about it first and bringing it and actually visualizing yourself in that arena. You know what I mean? Wherever you want to be in the next couple of days or in a week, or a month or a year or 5 years. You see what I'm saying? So, positive thoughts and dealing with thinking. They're dealing with your thinking. The thoughts, they come down. Thought always come down. Thought comes from mind or from the cosmos. And your thinking is how you deal with those thoughts. What you're thinking, the thinking is like a straight line. It's the constructive part of what you put into a thought. You see what I'm saying? In your brain. You see what I'm saying? So you want that to be as positive as possible at all times. I'm saying, look, at all times. This is not, I'm going to think positive for 5 minutes and then, the rest of the hour and a half, the next 2 hours, and the rest of the day, I just don't be negative, or 3 hours is positive, the rest of the day is negative. You're going to have a real good balance. And I would tell everyone to think positive about yourself all day long. Think positive thoughts all day long. All right. And look, that goes for me first. Sometimes it's a challenge for me, but in my mind, I'm very comical in my brain, so that helps me out a lot. And I like to think of good thoughts when it comes to people. And here's the challenge: when it comes to dealing with people. Say for instance, you're in traffic, or you're walking down the hallway, or you're running an errand in the supermarket. And the supermarket is the most common place to test yourself, all right? When you go shopping for food, clothes, whatever, going out to eat. And you're gonna run into some rude people. You're gonna run into somebody that's just straight that you would consider rude. All right, I'm not gonna go into what rude is and what rude is not, but we all know what rude people are. People may give you an ugly look or do something, ugly gestures. So what are you supposed to do about that? The first thing to do is see how it affected you physically. First off is what I recommend. Did that ugly gesture or that rudeness affect me physically? And deal with that part. You got to deal with it quick in your mind. And if it didn't, let it go. Maybe they're having a good day. Just let it go, because it's not even worth your time. Well, in most cases, it's not worth your time to even deal with it, because you're not gonna make any money from it. You know what I'm saying? You're not gonna become a better person. It's not gonna evolve you positively. You see what I'm saying? All right. I would beg to differ. I'd listen to somebody if they had a rejection on that, but 9 times out of 10, you ain't proving nothing other than people can pull your card. You see what I'm saying? They can bring the worst out of you at any moment, meaning that they can control you. All right. So best thing to do, keep positive thoughts and think positive. And if someone is in your face, they being rude to you, they cutting you off in traffic, look, work on saying, hey, you can have it. Have a blessed day. I have nothing for you. You needed that more than I did. Take care, type of deal. And mind your business and get to your destination safely, where you can make your money and become wealthy, or become rich, or become where you want to be in this life. All right, in that body, on this land. All right. So now we're going to go on to number 3, the concept number 3. And this particular concept. All right, now this is just, I wanted to throw in a little knowledge from North American history, North American knowledge, from a divine feminine perspective, all right, and apply it to the Moorish birthright, because this is what us returning back to the age, or to the mindset of our ancient ancestors is about. Getting back to that creative energy, what we call a divine feminine energy, Um, and it's a great. It's just it's how the old world was. That's what we understood. We understood this that through our lineage is dealing with the cosmos, which is the creative energy. All right, and I would encourage everyone to do researches on this and become enlightened and just gather the knowledge and gather the wisdom on this. That way it flows out from you from a positive standpoint, and we can begin to become creative rather than forceful. All right. So at any rate, number 3, and this particular one is about the history of the eagle that is used. And I'm not gonna go too deep into it, but I want people, because I don't want to go too deep, because I want people to do research. I want you to do some searching and researching on this. All right. And it's about the eagle, and it's about the Statue of Liberty. All right. And so I'm just gonna put it out there. So the eagle that the United States uses is actually our eagle here in North America, meaning that it's the eagle of the Aboriginals or the Moors or the people that were already here. That's actually our eagle. All right. And you'll see that some of the Native Americans, some of the quote unquote Native American tribes would talk about the eagle, or they'll use the appellations with the eagle in it. Well, we know everything that they use comes from the Moors, it comes from us. And the mainstream Native Americans were, in the more of the modern times, were side by side with the Moors prior to the Union States creation of the Constitution, or the Continental, prior to the Continental Congress. All right. Before those times manifested, you had the ancient times, and during the ancient times, we controlled the concept of the eagle. All right. And it comes from the ancient Moors, just to put that out there. And the first Statue of Liberty was 1848. All right, that was the first Statue of Liberty, 1848. And this Statue of Liberty is a statue of the Moorish woman, or the Moabite woman. All right, and it's a melanated system, a melanated statue. And so that was the very first Statue of Liberty. All right, and this is just an understanding, overstanding of the divine feminine energy here on planet Earth, which is how we moved in our ancient past until colonization of the European conglomerate, and which changed over pretty much the peak and the end of the patriarchy. All right, yeah, I mean just the pale skin patriarchy here in North America. All right, our pale skin brothers and sisters that ruled over here. So they do a little research on that, and also it was rejected. That particular Statue of Liberty was rejected by the United States, or the United States Society. All right, it was rejected and replaced with their version, which is a European version of the Statue of Liberty, which is a symbol of their rulership here in North America. All right, so I just felt I wanted to put this out there from a matriarch perspective and point of view, that we're going to have to go back to the feminine energy, and it is through our mothers, or through the Moabite mothers, that is where we have to correct ourselves. That's where we're going to rise up, essentially through our women, through the Moorish women, the melanated women. All right, this is part of harmonizing with the age of Aquarius. The leadership of the planet is the Moabite woman. All right, that's just, whether you agree with it or not, it's neither here nor there. So the women that identify as black, they're the leadership. We need them to rise up and to step forward and take their place as gods and what you would call queens, and leadership to get us through these things, and with our men protecting them, with us men protecting our women. All right, and that first Statue of Liberty, the melanated one, is simply symbolic of her rulership on this planet. You see what I'm saying? And from our foremothers and forefathers and what they deal with from a creative energy standpoint. All right. So, and also be sure to look up that eagle, though. That eagle, the symbolic eagle. I'm not gonna go into too much into its symbolisms. I'll do that on another podcast. But the eagle does not belong to the United States, to the Union States. It belongs to the Moors. The eagle. All right. So do your searches and research on that, and it just tells us. It just goes to show how powerful, how beautiful, how powerful, and how rich our lineage is. All right, the lineage of the Moors, who identify as black peoples, and Africans and stuff. We have a beautiful lineage to reconnect ourselves to, and so that's part of harmonizing with the age of Aquarius, is going back to the mindset of our ancient foremothers and forefathers. All right, as stated by a noble humanitarian by the name of Noble Drew Ali. All right, he always insisted on us dealing with our ancient ancestors, and we are who our ancient ancestors are, without doubt or contradiction. All right, so moving right along. Creative, the next concept, number 4 concept, creative energy. So, excuse me, what is creative energy? So, all right, excuse me, I had to switch the mic up. So, what is creative energy? So, I was talking to one of my brothers, man. Not my blood brother, but a blood sibling, but a brother more. And we was talking about us being men, right? And we got to chopping it up on some conscious stuff, and started, going in on the masculine energy, the feminine energies, etc., right? So he asked me this question. He was like, so Terry, man, what you think, bro? What you think about this? How do we as men? It's all this talk about divine feminine energy and things like that. So he's like, how do we as men harmonize with an energy that's supposed to be feminine? This is kind of the essence of what he was saying, what he was asking, and wanted us to go in and deliberate on it and do some mental connecting on it. And so I just explained to him, per my studies, with creativity. Simply put, anything creative is our divine feminine essence. We have a divine masculine part of us as men, and we have a divine feminine part of us as men. Same for the women. They have a divine, they're feminines, and their bodies is feminine, complete, but they have a masculine side too. And we seeing a lot of that today. All right. And I'm not going into it. About a lot of our women, how they're dealing with too much masculine energy, and it's stressing them out, and they're not really happy. And so I'm not going in too deep on that. They flourish better in their feminine state, where they don't have to worry about so much and deal with the ways of the world and the cares of the world. All right, but explaining back to the subject at hand, how do we as men, masculine, strong brothers, you know what I'm saying? The men that are, now I ain't got nothing against men that are of a feminine nature, or you like to portray yourself as feminine. That's your business. But I'm talking about men that are procreating respectfully, procreating with women for reproduction, so we can reproduce and continue to thrive on this planet. Because if you're a human, you're human, your spirit and body, and you came from a woman 9 times out of 10, or you came from a womb, which is feminine. All right. So I'm not even dealing with the whole identity argument with that. This is about reproduction. So for the men, all we do is tap into our creative side, our creativity, and that is divine feminine. We're divine masculine. If you want to, divine masculine is only a the aggressive portion of what the divine feminine is. All right, that's all it is. And so we both looked into this. Me and my brother, my Moorish brother, we deliberated on this and we looked into it. And the divine masculine is simply an aggressive form of the divine feminine. It comes from the cosmos. The Honorable Noble Drew Ali he annotated this down within, you can look this up, and this is a concept within most of the holy books. All right, but he annotated this in the Moorish Holy Koran, Koran, not Quran, not the religious book, but the Koran, the Moorish Holy Koran, circa 7 Koran. And excuse me, I don't have the chapter, but he alluded, or the chapter or the verse, so excuse me, but from a concept perspective, he said the child, in one part of this particular lesson, he's saying that the child is as perfect as the mother is, or the son is as perfect as the mother is. And so when you look into the science of conception, we conceive into human form as feminine first, and then we evolve into a masculine body type. All right, so that's as far as I'm gonna go with it. I'm not gonna go any deeper than that. All right, because that's another podcast. We're talking about harmonizing with the Aquarius Aether energy. And so, in essence, though we become masculine bodies, we're still from the feminine essence, which we grew. Now we come from our fathers as well. You know, it's a whole process with the lessons of reproduction, the science of reproduction. However, when it comes to manifesting into form, the mother has to do that. All right. So the creative energy side, the creative energy side of us, and harmonizing with our creative side, you know, within our masculine forms, you know, this is how we align ourselves with the creative energy or the harmonizing energy. And so, you know, some might say, well, how do we do that? Can you bring it down a little more simpler, Mr. Terrymuurel? Sure. Studying yourself, learning to love instead of hate. That's of a feminine nature. You see what I'm saying? It's simple. It's real simple stuff. Learning to love instead of hate. Having positive thoughts about yourself. All right. Demanding respect for yourself. All right. You respect the body that you're in. You don't have to go on beating everybody up. You see what I'm saying? You know, when you respect when you walk with a level of respect, people are usually, you know, they're gonna tap into that. You know, when you respect certain people. Some people take it as a weakness. That's not good. But when you carry yourself a certain way, the energy is going to speak, which is going to usually force people to respect you. And then sometimes it brings on other lower self energies. Be warned, however, with positive thinking, with respecting yourself, not navigating in certain arenas. You see what I'm saying? That's going to harm you or put you in a situation that could potentially harm you or take you backwards. You know, you're creatively thinking, you're using yourself creatively, all right? But learning to love instead of hate, that's the most simplest form, you see? And loving yourself and studying yourself, your mood changes, how you deal with people, studying the things you did in the past to see where you were psychologically compared to where you are today, and see how you navigate within that. And what do you think about, how do you feel about that? You don't, without convicting yourself, without looking down on yourself, from a more of a grateful position. You see what I'm saying? And what you learn from that and what you could do better if you were to be faced with that or not. I mean, that's just doing a self-check or, psychoanalyzing yourself, if you will, which doesn't hurt anything. But at the end, the solution of all that particular thinking is to bring you to a positive state of mind, a grateful state of mind, all right? And this is the creative energy. Gratefulness, being grateful, that's creative energy. Being grateful for the smallest things, that's creative energy. You see what I'm saying? That's the divine, that's tapping into the divine feminine energy, which you are harmonizing with the Aquarius Aether energy at the highest level. All right? The smallest things you're grateful for. All right? Versus being ungrateful, thinking that everybody and everything owes you something because of whatever. You got $1 trillion in the bank, everybody owes you, so you're the smartest. You know what I'm saying? We owe you some gratitude, or some words, and everybody else don't. I'm not talking. I dealt with myself with this. Myself, when I was gaining this knowledge, this so-called knowledge I have, and I'm grateful for all the knowledge I have. Any little piece of knowledge I can get, I learned something, I'm grateful for it. And I'm happy, and I'm not throwing it in anybody's face. But however, there's a flip side to that. And when when you think you're better than anybody because of that, well, of course you're not navigating. You're navigating otherwise, all right, than the harmonizing energy, creative energy, all right. So moving right along. I want to keep things balanced and steady, and versus hammering a nail too much, all right. So, and that was the number four concept: creative energy. Or energy, you know what I'm saying? Your INNERG, energy, your inner self, inner essence. All right. So, all right. Now I think I just covered this. Learn to love instead of hate. All right. That's the number 5 concept for this particular podcast. Again, this is That More Stuff podcast. And if you have any questions, comments, agreements, disagreements, or anything you might want to suggest, a topic to suggest, feel free to hit me up. That More Stuff Podcast 013 at outlook.com. You can hit me up on YouTube, That More Stuff Podcast on YouTube. And you can also hit me up on Facebook under Terry Dangerfield L. Alright? It's Terry Dangerfield L on Facebook. And you can do a friend request. And I usually accept your friend request, but I'm gonna tell you, don't be calling me on Facebook. You know what I'm saying? You calling me on Facebook, I'm probably gonna block you because I've been scammed a couple of times. So through video calls, you calling me on Facebook, video calling me, man. Look, don't even do it. For what? What are you doing? So yeah, that's just funny. I just wanted to mention that. Don't be calling because I ain't gonna answer anyway. All right, respectfully. All right. So, all right, number 5, learning to love instead of hate. Number 5 concept, learning to love instead of hate. So, people, this is a process. This particular one, learning to love instead of hate. And so I can talk about my own process, all right? And I can say, although, and this I don't want to be too long on this because this particular concept with myself, I had to do some deep psychological researching within myself to begin to accomplish this. I'm still learning to love instead of hate. All right, and so I thought that loving someone, this is period. I'm not even talking about relationship type between a man and a woman, right? Or between whoever and whoever, right? I'm just saying love in general. And I thought love in general was about an affection, a type of affection that one feels for another. And so meaning that, all right, I share something with you, and usually you got to give me something back, like an even exchange. This is where it started. You see what I'm saying? And so that's what I thought it was. And meaning that to take it to a higher level, if I show some type of affection for one and didn't show it back, or if we didn't harmonize in a certain manner, if I'm giving off some type of energy, or I might buy the homie a drink. You know what I'm saying? Say for instance, we back in the day, I used to go out and go shoot pool, go out to the clubs or whatever. And I bought, some of my homies a drink. And then, the next time we together on a few transactions, if they don't do it, well, I'm going to have a whole attitude about it. But that one time I bought a drink, you know what I'm saying? And so that may be a good example, bad example, but I'm just saying that it was the expectation of something in return. is what I'm thinking love was. The essence was just incorrect. You know what I'm saying? And that's how my psyche was. And then on the flip side, as I developed out of that into more of, all right, if I give, then I'm giving because this is what I do. I'm feeling good. I feel like, all right, you guys are great friends, and you work hard and you take care of your families. Drinks on me for everyone. All right. And so I evolved into that. And so at that particular level, I'm thinking that, all right, now love is about just giving my energy away. You know what I'm saying? I got into this point where I'm just giving my energy away to not any and everybody, but people around me. I'm giving certain levels of energy that was too much for who that person was in comparison to what they was giving me and what purpose they were serving in my life. I'm not trying to get too deep, but I'm just saying, like, I'm giving off energy to them that's not necessarily that they don't deserve. All right, they don't really deserve this energy that I'm giving them. This transcends gender. It ain't about male or female. It's just anybody. All right, and so that's where I wasn't loving myself. All right, this is where I was lacking love for myself because I'm just handing my energy out to people that don't really appreciate it. And I'm attempting to keep this conversation on me first rather than just go projecting outward. And I feel like people get the best absorption when one can project from an experienced perspective. So as I had to have help with this, the high mother essence had to kind of give me a couple of spankings. We all get our little spankings in this life, karma or whatever. And I had to go through my corrections spiritually in order to learn to love myself first and respect myself first and respect my energy and not let other people take advantage of me. You see what I'm saying? People will only do what you allow them to do to you, meaning that when you tell someone no, right? You know what I'm saying? Because it may be taken from you. Well, that's loving yourself first. Or when you tell someone, you ain't got to say no. Here's what I can do for you. I need a ride to work. I need this. I need that. All right, here's what I can do for you. You see what I'm saying? I can call a neighbor and or call somebody else and see if they're going that way. Maybe they can take you. Are you willing to ride? You know what I'm saying? That's what you can do versus making yourself late, trying to get somebody else to work because they didn't handle their business. That's part of loving yourself, but looking out for yourself first. So this is just an explanation or an example of what I wasn't doing or where I was lacking in my own personal life. And so when I started correcting this, and once I corrected this, man, or began to correct this, I could start loving others properly, meaning that, all right, I'm in a position to where I'm taking care of myself. I'm loving myself. I'm learning about myself. I'm more open-minded to people, and I'm starting to accept things for what they are. And so, I begin to, have more compassion for people universally, even outside of my own quote-unquote race. All right, I was having more compassion for people universally. So that took levels. All right, but however, a lot of us still deal with, personal traumas. I talked about that earlier in the podcast. Personal traumas, situations that we went through, et cetera, that we battle, that stops us from really loving ourselves, forgiving ourselves first. If it was us that was part of the trauma or us that wasn't, forgiving anything that we might have lacked with ourselves, forgiving ourselves first and deciding I'm going to love myself from this day forward. Simply put, that simple concept or that simple statement to yourself or that simple thought in your mind is foundation for you. And once you do that, you know what I'm saying, then you can start, you love yourself. This is particularly for the Asiatics of North America who identify as black people who are Moors. Most of the world would agree in the past up to present that we can't stand each other. You know what I'm saying? That we hate each other. You see what I'm saying? But I must testify and certify that I see that things are changing. Not that chaos is not happening out there. There's still some chaos out there between us, but some things are changing. And so this is more so because we have a lacking desire not to learn about our ancient past. We don't think it matters. You know what I'm saying? As a whole, we don't think who we are matters because who everyone else says we were in the school system is the truth. And we want, you know what I'm saying? And we'll take it, we take that information in because we go through the school system and we're trying to get a high school diploma, which is essentially a letter of recommendation. All right. And true enough, we need to learn math and spelling and English. You can learn it at the house. Your mama and your aunties and uncles and aunts, and your grannies can teach you the same things the teachers teach. Now, I ain't trying to look. Listen, I'm not coming for no teachers. We need teachers. I'm just saying. Before the 1900s, there was no school system. All right, and we had farmers. We had, in the industry, we had towns. We dealt with technology. We dealt with arithmetic, math. We were some smart people prior to the 1900s. I'm talking about if you look at an English test, if you look at an English test from the 1800s or the early 1900s, you see how high level that was. That comes from the level of knowledge on those tests comes from who we were prior to the 1900s. All right, so I'm not coming from no teachers that went and got their degrees, got their master's degrees, your bachelor's degrees, and saying y'all are worthless. No, ma'am, no, sir. That's not what I'm saying. I'm essentially saying that we are an intelligent people, all right? And by doing simple things, we can advance ourselves. That's all I'm saying. And the fact that we did things differently in the past, all right? Sure, we need teachers, you know what I'm saying? And it's going through properly being taught in universities and getting that high level knowledge, all right? So, at any rate, getting back on topic, I don't want to get too far off topic. Learning to love instead of hate. We have to deal with our ancient past. If we, the ones that think we black people, who are essentially Moors, we have to deal with our ancient past and accept who we were in the past, accept the rights with the wrongs, and begin to move forward in love and in truth and in peace. All right. And so Noble Ali brought 5 principles, universal principles, and these are universal to the planet: love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. These are the 5 universal principles of the Moorish nation, brought by Noble Ali in the 1920s. And so this is universal to any nationality, any creed, any nationality, any religion: love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And all of the religions have these 5 principles. Excuse the background noise. These 5 principles are universal. Any religion that you deal with, if you look hard enough in these books, they're going to have those principles in there. Essentially, through different storylines, different people, anywhere from the Bible, the Quran, the Veda, etc., etc. All right. And moving right along, by accepting our ancient past, that helps us move along in love and in peace and in truth, and love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and those 5 principles. And we can navigate from a balanced state and more into the advanced state, harmonizing with the age of Aquarius. All right. And let's see. Yeah. All right. Next concept, meditation. All right. So, and I want to finish off the last concept. One more thing. Whenever you to the Moors, to the one that identifies Negroes, colors, and blacks, part of learning to love your people is also harmonizing with the age of Aquarius, or the Aquarius Aether energy. All right, this is part of the harmonizing, and that's where Noble Ali said the Moors of North America need to learn to love instead of hate. All right, now listen. I don't mind being redundant about Noble Ali. For those that say, "Oh, he talk about Noble Ali too much," well, all right. And let's just put it like this: he's an American humanitarian who's a big part of American history that most people in North America don't talk about. All right, he is in a museum in North America. He's in one of the museums, and there are some paintings of him in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, I believe. Some honor this man, but I'm gonna talk about him a lot if you listen to this podcast. So that man did say, "Learn to love instead of hate." Noble Ali did. All right. So he was talking specifically to us, people that identify as black, as a whole, who are Moors and are aboriginal to North America, meaning that this is our land before anybody else. No one else has claims to this land ahead of us. All right. So another topic, another day. All right. But essentially, accepting our history, accepting ourselves, and we can begin to, and loving ourselves first, and then we have love for the Asiatic race or the Moors or our own people. We stop fighting each other, and then perhaps show love to other nationalities, behind us first, just like they do us. I'm glad I put this out. I'm glad I went into this before I jump to the next concept. There was some distractions in the back disrupting me. Excuse the noise in the back. I meant this. Not to get too personal, but I meant this particular. Let's call it an apartment setting. You got neighbors that are loud. All right, so please excuse the noise. But I wanted to put this concept back because it's very important. All right, just where we learn to love ourselves first, and then the other nations we can look out for. All right, although we're a melting pot, however, nationality is the order of the day. All right, so we have to love our own, and just like we watch other nationalities love their own. Let's see, the Mexicans, they look out for each other. The Asians, I can go on and on. I go on and on about this. I'm not going to take up too much time. I'd rather not, because I feel like we're on a good path to loving ourselves. This is what I'm seeing. My research is telling me that we're on a good path. Of course, there's always room for improvement. There's room for improvement with me. You see what I'm saying? So I can speak for myself. And so, but I can tell you today, I love way more than I hate. And I don't even remember the last time I hated for years. All right. So, and I'm still constantly developing myself. Certainly it's not always easy. All right. At any rate, let's move to the sixth concept called, meditation. The sixth concept, meditation. All right. So meditation. This particular concept, so with my research on this one, man, I'm gonna tell you, just through the years, coming into what you call the conscious movement, the conscious community, quote unquote, the conscious community, which are the melanated beings who identify as black. A lot of us are navigating in different cultures of ours, which we call the Egyptian culture, the Hebrew Israelite culture, a lot of different cultures, right? And within those different cultures, we'll say things like, "Oh, this is the way you meditate," and this is the only way, you know what I'm saying, that you can meditate. This is meditation. This right here. And so people will take that as, all right, well, I need to look like that when I meditate, meaning that usually the universal sitting in what they call Indian style, or flat on your backside, sitting flat on your behind with your legs crossed, in what they call Indian style, which is our universal way of create, the Moorish universal way of meditating. All right. So, in retrospect, meditation, what is meditation? And I'm not going to use the definition, but I'm just going to explain in a simple explanation. Just simplify things. I believe in simplifying things rather than, jumping into my ego. You know what I'm saying? Using big words, big terms, big concepts to throw at people so I can feel good about being smarter than you. All right, I'm not into that. All right, and we're supposed to be harmonizing. This, you know what I'm saying? So again, in simple terms, simply put, meditation is simply connecting with the universe. That's all you're doing. You mentally connecting with the cosmos, or mentally connecting with the ethers, mentally connecting with higher levels. All right, in order to get some feedback about your walk on this plane of existence, or things you need to do on this plane. You need to connect with the higher essence. One way to meditate, you can close your eyes, sit in your style, and do a hand mudra, connect your fingertips, different fingertips together in a certain fashion. Absolutely. That's one of the better, you can call that one of the more efficient ways. That's not the only way. All right? That's not the only way to meditate. All right? What's another way of meditating? Some people go and work out. They go and work out, they throw their headphones on and listen to whatever they listen to. You know what I'm saying? I always recommend listening to higher energy, higher frequency music. Meaning that, love songs, music about nature. You know what I'm saying? And you got some rap music out there. I mean, some of the hip hop. You have some conscious hip hop, but some people meditated with different types of hip hop. I used to meditate to more of the hardcore hip hop. You know what I'm saying? For those of you who know who Scarface is, the Ghetto Boys. I used to listen to some East Coast too. Old school crews like Lords of the Underground, which they wasn't real hardcore, but they came hard, right? You know what I'm saying? I used to listen to some West Coast. It's Ice Cube, back when it was him and it was the NWA. It was NWA. I was listening to that. I listened to a lot of hardcore music back in the day. And sometimes, I listen to it just to do things from a mental perspective. However, a lot of people go work out and they listen to these types of music, even up to heavy metal, and that's a form of meditation. It depends on where you're going with your meditation. You can meditate and get to higher levels from a higher self perspective, and you can meditate to get to lower self perspectives as well. All right, there's levels to meditating. You see what I'm saying? You can go to a lot of different places, but in the age of Aquarius, in these particular point in times, you're wanting to harmonize and meditate in any way you see fit, because there are various ways to meditate. Do your searching and research on it. And my searching and research told me that I can meditate any way I want to. I can go walk in the forest, in the woods, where nature is, where nature resides. I can do that. I can ride. I used to, of course, I'm a CDL holder, and I drive the 18-wheelers, or what they call the big rigs, riding through the mountains, riding through the forest, the great, what they call the national forest. I would get in a zone of meditation. Not that I'm not paying attention to what I'm doing. My senses are heightened, and I would just I'd be in my thoughts about things, and that's meditating. And I'd be meditating and receiving downloads from the ethers, from the cosmos, driving the big rig, looking at the road, looking at nature, watching for traffic, watching for people. When I'm exiting and when they're entering the freeway, I'm literally in the midst of meditating, doing throughout these whole transactions. All right. So at any rate, just let you know, there are various forms of meditating, and there are different ways you can do it. And of course, you do your searching and your researching, and look into what way you can best meditate. And of course, that comes with self-study, self-love, starting to love yourself, and and then in that way again you have a good balance and good foundation, and begin to meditate. And don't be ashamed of it. Whatever way you meditate, that's your business. That's your way of doing it. You don't let anybody tell you don't meditate that way. You don't do that because this is bad. No, you meditate however you want to with what's best for you. It's about your mindset, where your mindset is and where your heart space is. Your heart space is most important. The heart space is most important. All right, what are you meditating for? What are you trying to figure out? And what is the intentions after you figure it out? What are your intentions with it? You know what I'm saying? Are they whole? Do you want to do harm with it? You know what I'm saying? Are you trying to better yourself and advance yourself? All right. So the point of aligning ourselves with the age of Aquarius and the Aquarius Aether energy is advancing and evolving ourselves, our characters toward other people. You know what I'm saying? Toward other people. You see? So at any rate, that's meditation. That's far as I'm going to go with that one, because I feel like people have to do their own research meditating. I liken meditating to flavors of ice cream. Flavors of ice cream. Yeah, that's what I like in meditation too. There's different flavors. You can go as high as you want to, as low as you want to. Some people meditate by popping mushrooms. You know, that's a stream to me. You know what I'm saying? It takes you to certainly take you to a higher levels, higher mindsets. But however, sometimes there are consequences. You better have some people you trust with you dealing with that stuff. You know. At any rate, flavors of ice cream, man. This is what I like in meditation too. And there are different flavors, different ways, and you have to tap into your own essence and figure it out for yourself. Or you could do it the universal way, you know, the Moorish way, of the ancient ancestral way of the melanated people, the original people, sitting what they call Indian style, and do your little mudras, your hand mudras, etc., and meditate in that fashion, all right? It's really up to you, and please don't let anybody tell you, because they're super intelligent, that you can't do this, you can't do that, or you're limited to this. I would encourage you to do your own searching and researching on these things, all right? So, moving right along. Next concept: forcing of dogma and doctrines onto loved ones, all right? And this is number 7. All right, number 7, the forcing of dogma and doctrines onto loved ones, or to anybody else, onto the masses. All right. So this particular one is I want to take up at least the least amount of time as possible on this one, because dogma, political dogma, religious dogma, meaning that anything that is perpetuated and pushed onto the masses without question. Nobody questions it. You're told that this is your savior. This is what God looks like. This is what God said. And you don't question it. You know what I'm saying? Or a doctrine that says you better put your socks on this way, or this is going to happen to your foot. All right, or you better do this, or I'm this and I'm that. I'm all this and I'm all that, and you're not, and that's that. All right, now that's ego, but that's a doctrine too. So the forcing of dogma and doctrine onto love. All right, so we can't have this all that right there. We can't have it no more. It's over with. All right, people have thrived. Now look, now let me do a disclaimer. I don't want any preachers or imams or popes or priests think I'm coming for them. But if the shoe fits, it ain't coming for me. This is concept. All right, it's just simply concept. If you're guilty, you're guilty. All right, if you ever told somebody they was going to hell for cussing, you guilty. That's on you. That ain't necessarily true, and nobody can prove it. All right, it's up to people. It's between them people and their God. So in the age of Aquarius, we can't have it no more. You can't be judging. We can't judge people anymore. We have to judge ourselves. We have to deal with ourselves, and we're supposed to project love out to others. This is essentially how it works. This is what I studied personally while I was dealing in my choice of religion, which was Christianity, or I dealt with Church of God in Christ, Baptist, not Episcopal, Holiness, just regular community church. You see what I'm saying? Of course, Baptist, and within all of these institutions, there were different protocols. All right, and so the essence of these churches, or the way they ran, or the way they function, is that, all right, you accept the way we do things to be. Now, I'm not naming the churches. I'm not naming nobody, because I'm not into convicting anyone. I'm talking about my personal experience. And what I noticed is that it was essentially, are you in line or aligned with our customs or our protocols to get closer to the Creator, rather than it just being about projecting love based off of the way the Creator loves us in this church. The unconditional love that the Creator gives to us, we're supposed to give to other people that are not like us, so to speak. That's the correct concept. This is what I learned in all the holy books. You see what I'm saying? We talk about the Creator's love and how righteous the Creator is and how unconditional the Creator is. However, we mimic the Creator the least in the religious institutions. we nothing like the Creator in the religion. This is what I deal with in my experience within religious institutions and some organizations as well. You know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna name that, but I ain't been in a lot of organizations, but I'm just saying in certain little groups that I would navigate in, all right? And so saying that to say that stuff ain't gonna work no more. All right, telling people that their God is wrong, my God is right. I'm this, you're not. You're that, I'm not. That ain't gonna work no more. It's over with. This is the age of Aquarius. That's the old age is the age of what's the word? I'm not gonna be rude to say fairy tales, but belief. Meaning that I believe what you say and you ain't gotta prove it. And I ain't gotta research it. And that means we agree that it's true without you proving it and without me researching it. That age is over with. All right, it's over with. It's time for us to take responsibility and love for ourselves and not do ourselves like that any longer. Stop fooling ourselves. For what? For ego? How much money do we earn with ego? What can we pass out to our children with ego? What can we pass out to our future generations with ego? What we gonna pass ego off to them? How much money is that? What kind of wealth? What kind of generational wealth is that? By passing a bunch of ego and fooling people. I feel good. Yeah, my God is bigger than yours. I feel good. We ain't passing nothing off to our children. These same concepts have led to death and destruction and war. That's it. Everything else that's going on is masking. The good deed. We do good deeds, and that's certainly good, and I'm grateful for that. That we have, a lot of us have the faith and I don't want to say faith, but we do. We have faith in something it is what it is. We give our energy to try to do good things because it's in our heart versus just doing it to mask the bad things that we've done and the bad things that we gonna do that we plan on doing in the future. I've been guilty. Look, I've been guilty. All right. I've been guilty of that. So I can talk about it. I got credibility. All right, I'm gonna talk about it. If the shoe fits, wear it. If it don't listen to this. But if the shoe fit, I'm a grown man. I'm a grown woman. All right, prove it. The shoe fits. Let's correct ourselves. The shoe fit. It fitted me one particular point of time, and I decided to correct myself and correct myself on it. And I'm no better than nobody. If I'm a billionaire with 14 Rolls Royces and a Mercedes Benz station wagon with 2 beautiful wives, a bunch of children, they eat good, I eat good, I got some of the best clothes. I ain't no better than the homeless man down the street at the homeless shelter. All right, on the street. You know what I'm saying? He might have urinated on himself. I'm still no better than him. Our conditions are different. That's it. That's all. You see? And so when we get into a more of an advanced mindset like this, that becomes more energetically balanced with the coming age. That we are one. We are all connected. There is no disconnection. All right? There is no just one big I and little you. There is none of that. Especially when you go to the ethers. Speaking of ether energy, especially when you deal with ethers and zero point energy, it ain't no big I's, little U's. You may see some energetic changes that appear to be big, but energy it changes form. It's simply the energy changing form. And what are we down here on this planet? We're forms. We're formulas. The deeper you go to researching and when you start getting technical for some of the smart, intellectual, very intelligent minds, whom I personally appreciate, start dealing with formulas. That's what we are down here on this planet, doing things. You see what I'm saying? So, saying all that to say, the forceful dogma, the judgments, the judgmenting, the doctrines of big I's, little U's, forcing it on people, tricking people with it, manipulating people with it, it's over with. We have to do better. We have to, we're going to have to change. All right? And, one thing at a time, do the best you can with it. Just to let you know. And if you don't believe it, just take a look. You go online, you go on some of these websites. Not to spend too much time beating a nail. I don't like to do that, but I had to get this one out. This one was, the energy was riding on me about this one. Take a look at some of your social websites. Look at some of the organizations. Look at some of the religious institutions and see what's going on. Things are unraveling. All right, I'm not playing. Look, you think it's a game? That's on you. But we're not gonna be able to bring all that stuff, the negativity and forcing things on people into the next age. If things work for you, that's good. It works for you. All right, and whatever works for them or others, let that work for them. That's learning to love instead of hate. You eat spaghetti. I eat Alfredo. You know what I'm saying? I like Alfredo. I don't deal with spaghetti. I do Alfredo. You don't deal with Alfredo. Let's put it simple. I don't hate you because of that. You know what I'm saying? You ain't breaking into my house. I ain't breaking into your house. You call the creator Allah. I call the creator God or Buddha. You rich, I'm rich. You know what I'm saying? We go to the same car wash, the same supermarket. Our children go to the same school. So what's the problem? Anyway, all right, we're gonna wind that one up. And that was number 7, forcing of dogma and doctrines onto loved ones or others. All right, and I trust that those concepts will find their way to a interesting ear and a hungry ear, and bring us foundation to learn and to get into this concept of loving ourselves and loving others, and to move forward toward an evolutionary state in an advanced mental state. All right. Number eight, advancing to a highly spiritual and technological race. All right. So this one. Now, I'm gonna do my best with this with people now. So, and when I say race, I mean human race. All right. So, essentially, there's only one race on the planet now. Let me be proper with this. All right. Excuse me. Let me be proper with this. So, within the human race, we have phenotypes, but we call these phenotypes races. You see what I'm saying? You got you got us, the Asiatics, the original people. All right, and then you got the phenotype, the original people who call themselves black, who are Moors or Moabite, and you got the Albion type, who are European, or they identify over here in North America as white people. All right, these are two different phenotypes, not necessarily two different races. The race is the human race. Therefore, the Europeans and the Moors are one race of people. All right, one race, one human race. All right, that's it. That's what this concept is explaining. All right, so I can go all over the place with this. I'm gonna keep it very simple. We want to keep things simple. Not, we advance ourselves by starting simple. All right, we try being super smart and advancing everybody. It ain't gonna work. All right, we gotta keep it simple. So, the race thing. So, with becoming a highly spiritual and technological race, the first thing for us to do is to begin to love ourselves. All right, excuse the stuttering. I'm trying to get my mental state together so I can explain this properly and put it out properly. All right. So we just explained those concepts earlier. We went through concepts of love instead of hate, not projecting negativity, forceful negativity onto others. All right. This is the divine feminine energy. This is the harmonizing energy of Aquarius, creative energy, pretty much perpetuating itself. All right. When you start to love yourself, accepting the past for what it is, and accepting the present for what it is, and looking to do better with your movements, excuse me, with your thinking, with your actions, your activities, etc. This is foundation for advancing yourself to a more higher spiritual and technological being. All right, because you're accepting foundation at that point. After that, the meditating. We talked about meditation. This is part of it. And you accepting yourself is beginning to meditate and tap into the cosmos. Any way you meditate or thinking positive thoughts. You see what I'm saying? That's tapping into the cosmos. All right, and eliminating as many of the negative thoughts as you can from your being. All right, and then also you accept the bad as well. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is, but that it don't have to be part of you. You see what I'm saying? Although, we have a higher self and a lower self. We can talk about that. Talk about the things of this existence, right? And so, meditating, evolving spiritually, all right, and when it comes to that's becoming, raising yourself spiritually, and raising yourself spiritually is the essence of what this is about. All right, this is the essence of what this walk is about. In these bodies, us in these human forms. You know what I'm saying? We do it through religion. We'll do it through science. Sciences, you know what I'm saying? And we do it through a lot of cultural practices. We'll try to find our spiritual selves and raise ourselves up spiritually. But there are a number of different ways to do it. All right. And so taking us to the technological side of things. Of course, You have to have, well, there is technology, and technology is just tools that we use here in the physical form, or in this particular form. There are higher technologies. We're not getting into other planes of existence. We're not going there. We're not going there. Let's just talk about the physical, what we call the physical state. There are so many different technologies within the physical state that are used, some to harmonize the physical state, some to disharmonize the physical state. All right. However, when raising ourselves to a higher spiritual capacity, we're looking to harmonize ourselves in a technological state. We want to harmonize ourselves in a higher technological state from a higher spiritual capacity, meaning that we're not using technology to destroy each other. All right, to destroy each other for whatever reason. You see what I'm saying? And that includes any low technologies of kinetic energy like guns. We're not using any kind of guns that do any kind of things to harm each other. And now it's one thing to protect yourselves. You have to protect yourself, all right? You use wisdom in order to put yourself in the best position, however that may be, without violating others, to protect yourself, all right? But anywhere from that on to higher levels of technology that hadn't even been introduced to the public yet. There are technologies that us regular people that hadn't even heard of. It's gonna be introduced. It's coming out. All right, and don't be afraid of it. Don't be afraid of it, because it's part of this experience. It's the truth that's been there. We just haven't had it. It's always been used. The more researching you do, most people on this planet, if you do researching on ancient technologies of the ancient human races, they use technologies that hadn't even been introduced to the public yet. All right, so there's nothing to be afraid of. It's just humans in an undeveloped state using these technologies destroy the planet, and they destroy people. Although they may have intelligence on things, they're not necessarily evolved enough to handle that type of technology responsibly. All right. So what does that mean for us as regular people? Well, we learn. You look at the war that has been going on in the world, usually perpetuated by the United States. All right, look, listen. I mean, hey, look, it is what it is. We know what time it is. A lot of these wars, I observed. All right, I never spoke out on any war, or I would support for it. I don't necessarily agree with war at all. Personally, I feel like with us being so intelligent, or claiming to be such, we're such a thriving, and I'm not being sarcastic, we're such a thriving nation. I feel as though that we have the intelligence to get around war. However, this particular nation has been blinded. This is what my studies telling me. I'm up for correction on this now, man. But it appears that it's been of course, the love for money. You know what I'm saying? The love for finance, and how much finance can be made from war and conquest. Now I'm not. They're knowing the past for what it is, knowing my personal lineage. I'm not judging any nation on the planet for their war, their take on war and conquest, because they want to do it. I'm not necessarily judging them. I don't have to agree with it. All right, I ain't got to agree with war. I don't agree. But knowing, hey, look, the Moorish lineage, you do some research on it. Yeah, look, saying, we used to do some damage back in the day. All right, what you think the fall of Atlantis was about? The more research you do, the Lemurians, the so-called Lemurians, all right, those are our ancestors, the fall of Atlantis. What you think that was about? High technology and ego. As far as I'm going, I want people to look into this. I want you all to research it and look into what happened. You're gonna hear about the warlike conquest. Look, it's directly connected to the original people who identify as black people. This is your lineage. All right. So what's the difference between then and now? We have to evolve ourselves spiritually. All right. They're handling high technology. People look at that as being advanced because you got high technology, you know how to handle it, meaning that it's not going to destroy everything. So that means that you're advanced. Well, no, it doesn't. You know what I'm saying? Because it's your limitations with that technology. Under what set of circumstances? You see what I'm saying? Which means that's your spiritual capacity in measurement right there. You know what I'm saying? Highly spiritual and technological race. So under what reasons are we using high technology? You see what I'm saying? There's a little concept that let me see if I have it here. I looked up something online, man. And where is it? I wanted to use it's called a Kardashev scale. I wanted to read it out, but I don't think I have it with me. It may be on one of my other phones, but it's called a Kardashev scale or something like that. And essentially what it does is it measures civilizations. All right, type 1 civilization. I keep pressing the same thing. Type 1 civilization, type 2 civilization, all the way to type 7. All right. Oh, here it is. All right, I got it here, people. Good people. I found it. Woo! It was rough. I was looking for it. I'm here looking through my phone. All right. And the podcast is about to wind up. I just have to give these last two concepts. Number 8, and then I got number 9, all right? So I'm about to wind it up. At any rate, there's this concept it was a Russian astrophysicist. And this was like in the mid 1900s. And he came up with this concept and he called it it's called a Kardashev scale. And what it does, it names the level of civilization. Like a type 1 civilization is a civilization that masters energy on a planet, which means, you can control all the energy on the earth. Meaning you can control it, meaning that if a volcano is erupting, you can stop it immediately. Tsunami happening, if it's a tsunami is coming, you can stop it immediately. Right? That's a type 1 civilization. So where are we with the high level of technology that we have, that you can do research on, the conspiracy theories? You need to believe at least half of them. Believe half of them. All right? I'm telling you, believe half of them about the technology we have here in North America. So we're at a type 0. All right, here on planet Earth, the humans on planet Earth, which makes up, the North, South, Central Americas, the world over, Africa, Asia, all the quote unquote countries. We're at a type 0 civilization. All right. So that tells you where we are in advancement. This is spiritually and technologically. He only did technology, but I think it's actually 0.7 and 0.8 is where we are now, right now. And you got type 2 civilizations, mastery over their host star, meaning like the sun, you know what I'm saying? Meaning you can master the sun's energy, pull from its energy. You can keep the sun out as long as you want to, all kind of things, you know what I'm saying? Then you got the type 3 civilization, where you can master the energy of the galaxy. Well, not necessarily control the galaxy, but master the energy of it. Master, pretty much formulate where the energy is going in a certain moment, particularly the Milky Way. If we would be a type 3 civilization, we can control the energy of the Milky Way, all right? So those are just those concepts. Just those concepts, all right? So saying all that, I that's another podcast. So I will go forward without going up to the rest of the civilization types. I will do a podcast on it at a later date. All right. For saying all that, to say that you have to, for these particular type of concepts to be reached by the human family, we have to tap into our spiritual side first, and that would help us with limitations on how we use certain technologies, as to use them for our needs and to perpetuate. You see what I'm saying? And to grow and thrive, rather than for war and conquest, for ego purposes, and simply to gain finance and other lower self desires. All right. So, and it starts with loving ourselves. Essentially, everything's gonna start with loving yourself, accepting yourself for who you are in this life. All right. Learn about yourself, and then accepting the reality for what it is. All right. And understanding that you can change your own reality by, loving yourself, harmonizing with the universe through love, through peace. You see what I'm saying? And harmony. And learning to love instead of hate. You don't have to hate everybody because they're different. Difference is creativity. We're all the same, but so very different. This is called creativity. This is of the feminine essence. Which means, if you tell me, anybody do studies on what's divine and things like that. Well, yeah, that is divine. That's divine energy of more of a creative state, which is divine feminine, which we call divine feminine energy. All right, from a gender role perspective. All right. So moving right along. Number 8, finishing that up, just to put a cap on it. Learning to love instead of hate. Just like the prior concept, and meditating, loving yourself, etc., etc. These are the foundations of us advancing ourselves spiritually. And, of course, with time and mental connections, connecting with the human race, connecting on 5 principles: love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, nationalities, nationhood, nation building. We start to evolve ourselves. We start to become highly spiritual. You see what I'm saying? And then the technology that's already here, we'll learn to perpetuate that technology for our own evolvement and evolution, all right? To our higher state, a higher technological state. Getting back to our ancient ancestral ties. Our ancient ancestors, technologically sound and highly spiritual. However, they ran into an age where ego just took place, and just read the story, study the story of Atlantis, and see what happened if you're unaware of those things. All right. Now, number 9. This is gonna be the last concept, and we're gonna end this particular podcast. It's over an hour and a half now, and I went a little longer than I wanted to, but I tell you, man, that dogma concept, woo, sorry, that one is lit. I'm gonna tell you that's something it's still going on. So I had to put it out in the way I did. So at any rate, I wasn't coming for nobody. So y'all gonna be hitting me up on the podcast, say, hey, Terrymuurel, you was kind of targeting with that, but I really wasn't. If the shoe fit, anything on these podcasts, if the shoe fits, wear it. If it don't worry about it, But at the same time, you certainly do your shadow work to make sure it ain't you, all right? Or it hadn't been you or whatever. Anyway, number 9. All right. Accepting the truths of our ancient and modern ancestry. And I put a reference here, playing games. I don't know why I put that reference there. Playing games, playing cosmic games. I don't know. All right, well, I'll just skip over this. Anyway, accepting the truths of our ancient and modern ancestry. All right, accepting the truths of our ancient and modern ancestry. So I've been talking about it a little bit on this podcast, or a lot on this podcast, and referencing us dealing with, particularly us, meaning the Moors of North America, who have been in a fallen state for centuries and centuries and centuries. All right, we've been in a fallen state of mind, and we've fallen from. I'm talking about from the 1600s. No, 2,000 years ago. We started falling 2,000 years ago. All right, it is what it is. That's when it started. It escalated the last few hundred years. All right, mentally, mostly mentally. All right, with ego, big eyes, little U's. Just do your research on it, on our heritage here, in the heritage and the histories of North America between 1400 up to now. We're not stopping in the 1900s. We're up to now. All right, the big eyes, little U's, political, religious dogma. All right, this is what we've been dealing with, and we've been lying about the truths of the history or the stories or the events in North America. It's been in South America and the world over. It's been a bunch of lying. All right, and because of this, we have a bunch of people. Now, look, North America over here, this is the leadership of the planet. All right, there's an energy to this. There's energetic reasons for this. All right, North America. So now you got the leadership of the planet. The people over here that lead, they're supposed to be in essence leading the planet, living a bunch of fairy tales. We live in a bunch of fairy tales because we've been lied to. You know, of course we've not taken advantage of reading information that is in books, truthful information. There's some false information in books. But with these books, you know, you read the books, you get the scholarship, you get some keys, and then you do some spiritual type of research. Meaning that you can ask your higher power to reveal to you the truths of things, what the truth of things is. You see what I'm saying? Cross-referencing. You know, if you're not one that like to go to the spirit about scholarship, well, you can cross-reference the information that you find in books, in movies, in videos. You see what I'm saying? And so, once doing that, you do your spiritual work, and you're going to have to begin to accept the truth for what it is. You're like, well, this is we wasn't there. All right, I wasn't there. I wasn't in the past. However, I look at the evidence of what went on then and what's going on now. Because for every cause, there's an effect. There's a science. There's a science on this planet. Every cause, there's an effect. So you look at the evidence of things. That's what you're looking for. For example, or the lack of evidence of things. There's no evidence of slave ships, of millions of slave ships that brought hundreds of millions of people over here. You look for evidence versus people's opinions and their emotions. That's simply put. You see what I'm saying? That's how you evolve yourself. That's how we evolve as a species, as a people, and thrive. We deal with facts, not fairy tales. All right? And we accept the truths of things, the good, the bad, the ugly. Look, here's the hard truth for all the cultures on planet Earth. And I'm going to say this bold, in love and in peace and in harmony. All right? Now, maybe your research is different and more highly developed, and you got more information and you got more books and you may be more connected to the creator than I am. However, out of the 13 years that I've been studying my Aboriginal past here on the Americas, the world over, look, I looked into some African, quote, so-called African histories too. Tapped into some histories of some other lands. And it appears to me, look, mostly all the cultures, you know, we done did a little dirt. Ain't nobody's on the planet without sin in the past ages. All right? Anybody that want to claim their culture is clean and pure, They're pure. We're pure and clean, and we did no wrong ever in the history of the earth. They lying, meaning that it may not been on purpose. However, that don't mean it was right. You see what I'm saying? Nobody's without sin. They disrespectfully. And this is where the big eyes, little U's come in, because you got people that think they're without sin, or they, because this culture didn't do this, we better than them, and we better than y'all, and y'all are beneath us, and y'all are inferior. That's a lie, and that's a fairy tale. When somebody tell you on this planet that one group of people is better than another group of people because of this, nobody's better than nobody. And I kind of feel like I'm hammering the nail with it. But look, for me to match, I'm trying to match what's been put out there. That some is better than the other. Some people are better than the other. And that people really think this about, they really think that, you see what I'm saying? Because of whatever. My cup of coffee tastes better than your cup of tea. So I'm better than you. There are actually people that think this way, you see. So, not that, saying that to say you accept the fact that our previous cultures did bad things in the past. Lands were destroyed, ancient sites were destroyed, some of our ancient landmarks were destroyed because due to war and hands getting dirty and ego and ugliness and pillaging, all kind of craziness. When you do research on and this is European history too. the Moorish history in Europe, all right, and the Moorish history in North America and South America and the world over. Oh my goodness. There's some bad, but however, there's a whole lot of good. We have rich history. We have a planetary, worldwide history that's illustrious and beautiful, and we are rich and wealthy. However, we accept the good with the bad and have balance and move forward as a highly technological and spiritual race of people. You see what I'm saying? This is part of harmonizing with the Aquarius Aether energy. We're in its present state and where it's going to go. What we call a golden age. All right? Everything I'm saying, you don't have to believe it. Search and research it for yourself. All right? I just explained to you what my searching and research told me after 13 years. And I'm still studying. I ain't finished. You see what I'm saying? I'm still studying. I'm still looking into things, and throughout everything, I remain open-minded. And I'm open-minded to people who don't necessarily agree with this. They don't like it. You know what I'm saying? They don't like this. Talking like this. They don't like none of this. And that's cool. I'm open-minded to that. They may be at a level where they ain't ready to accept the facts for what they are. Some people like their fairy tale. I ain't necessarily talking about those particular people that don't like what's being said on this podcast. I'm just saying, some people like their fairy tale. That's cool. I ain't talking to you. You see what I'm saying? If you one of the people that like your fairy tale, meaning that it hadn't been proven, ain't nobody got to prove it to you. They just fed you some lies. They gave you a tool, and that gives you balance. I'm not even talking to you. I'm not dealing with you respectfully. I mean no harm towards you. I wish you well. I wish your family well. That's cool. Don't, as long as you're not pushing what your fairy tale is onto anybody else. Don't push it. Keep it on yourself. That's the key. You see what I'm saying? When you start pushing things on other people, well, that's a problem. You know what I'm saying? That's a problem. That's an issue that you have to cease or iron out with yourself. You need to stop it. You see what I'm saying? You want to do what works for you and brings you balance, and wish others to find the same balance that you find in whatever which way they find it. All right, good deal. So we're gonna end the podcast here. I trust this podcast, this particular one, does something for everyone, anyone that decides to listen to it, I encourage each and every one listening to this podcast and the ones that don't listen to podcasts like this to find your own truth. Do your own searching and researching. Don't believe anything that everyone says. You know what I'm saying? Also, if anybody on this planet is telling you you're bigger than somebody else because of, are you better than somebody else because of something? Now, true enough, we have those that are more efficient at certain things, where they're creative. I may be more creative or more knowledgeable about cellular phones than you are. Well, that don't necessarily make me better than you, because you may be able to cook the greatest vegetable plate on the planet or some wonderful baked fish that I can't even match with my cooking. You know what I'm saying? That just simply states our creativity on the same plane of existence. You have, resources. I have resources. We share those resources and we thrive together. And I show you how to fish. You show me how to work that cell phone, man. You teach me a little something. You see, on that technology. All right. So, peace, love, and light. This has been that More Stuff podcast. I am Terry Phillips Dangerfield L. Honors to High Mama. Honors to the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Honors to Marcus Garvey. Honors to the feminine goddesses like Mother Verdicia L. Bay, Fannie Lou Hamer, Dr. Precious Chris Wellsing, all the honorable and noble matriarchs that charted this path for us. Supreme and high honors to all of them. All right. I send my peace and love to the human family, boys of North America. Peace and love, Islam, all the cultures on planet Earth, the world over. Peace, love, and light.